Jason, with only 11 or 12 days, whatever the count is, until the opener against, I can't even remember, Arkansas State, correct? Yes,
Correct.
Arkansas State, Butch Jones and company coming to Norman. Are there any position battles that are still being waged? Or even if it's not for a starting job, any uh, news that you've heard out of camp that has caused your thoughts to be any different about playing time or any particular player making a move?
Yeah, there's a couple. Certainly, I think when you look at the running back position, it's a bit of a crowded room. I think when you came into this season, particularly coming into fall camp, you thought this was really kind of a Gavin Sawchuk 1A, Javonte Barnes 1B type of situation where they would really kind of share the load. But there's been a guy that's not necessarily come out of nowhere, but he's been injury free this fall and had an excellent camp. And that's Marcus Major. He's kind of the forgotten guy. He's played a decent amount. I believe this is his fifth year in the student uniform. He's just really not had the opportunity to make as much of an impact as he would like because of his just injury problems that he's continued to have. But he's been injury free this fall, and like I said, he's had an excellent camp. I think from some sources, they believe that he might have won that job, which is a little surprising given where Oklahoma has. So I think that's kind of a position battle, which is a good problem to have. I think that Oklahoma has. They've got those three. I think those three guys that will carry will shoulder a lot of the load from a running back perspective. So certainly, at the least, you're going to see Marcus Major get a lot of carries here early on in the season. So I think that's one. I think the wide receiver position is another one that has continued to have just a lot of competition and different players like kind of stepping up. I think some of the things that you hear is there may not necessarily be a big time number one. There may not be necessarily a CeeDee Lamb there or a Marquise Brown or a Sterling Shepard or something like that. But I think they've got a lot of complementary pieces that they really like coming into this year. Gavin Freeman is a guy that played sparingly last year, showed some flashes that has continued to be the person that everyone mentions. Andrell Anthony is another that is a continued person that is mentioned in terms of people that are kind of showing up in a big way. Jaden Gibson's had a little bit of maybe a slower start, but has come on as of late. So I think, there's still going to be a lot of competition there. You've got about 6 or 7 guys that I think will have an opportunity to play early on. And then certainly when they get the conference season, we'll see if that gets pared down a little bit. And then when you move over to the defensive side, I think the biggest competition that will continue to show itself is probably in the secondary. Now, I think the secondary has an opportunity, I should say, to be much improved from what they were a year ago. Having said that, I mean, I think you can certainly expect to see just some varying degree of just inconsistency with some new kids coming in. So I think Woody Washington coming back has got one of the corners spots taken, and then you've got another one that looks like Gentry Williams, who's the Oklahoma product, who's a sophomore this year, got a little bit more playing time towards the end of last year. I think he's probably the odds-on favorite to start opposite Woody Washington. But then you've got some other kids, Josiah Wagner, a true freshman coming in. Makari Vickers is a true freshman coming in. So I think you'll have some competition there early on in the season in some of these games where it looks like they might have an opportunity to play a few guys and see who works the best. I think that will be something to look at. And then also when you look at the safety position, Billy Bowman comes back. Had a really good season last year. Could potentially work himself into an all Big 12 type of season at one of the safety positions. But the other one was, a little bit up for grabs, so to speak. You've got true freshman Peyton Bowen, who is one of those kids, Mark, I think he's just going to be too good to keep off the field in some capacity. Not sure what that looks like early on in terms of, being a starter, but I think, mid season, he's a guy that's going to get more and more snaps. But Reggie Pearson, the transfer from Texas Tech, really hard-hitting safety. I think he's in that conversation as well. So I think the thing that you can have heard continuously as a buzzword out of the Venables camp this fall is really the competitive depth that they had, and they just frankly just didn't have a year ago at a lot of these positions, up and down both sides of the ball. So I think early on that with the schedule being what it is, I think they will have a little bit of an opportunity to to kind of play with that a little bit, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. Game 2 with SMU, have a decent amount of respect for that offense, what they've been able to do. So that might be a decent test for the new and hopefully improved Oklahoma defense. But I think offensively they'll have some ability to, and I don't want to say coast, but be able to look at a few different players at the skill position perspective and just see which ones really kind of are able to do it in a game type atmosphere.